Welcome to the Board Game BBQ podcast. I'm your host, Adrian. We are at episode 193, knocking on the doorstep of that big 200, guys. Tonight, there you go, knock, knock, knock. Thank you very much. You do bingo calls, do you, Dan? Was that you?
Legs 11.
There you go. Well, I'm joined by Dan in Melbourne. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good, buddy. And Mike down in Melbourne as well. How you doing, Mike?
Good, champ. Good. How's it going, man?
Dude, yeah, really good. This has been a long time since we've been on together. We've hung out together, but we haven't been on a pod together because I think one of us was sick and then it got moved around. And yeah, now we're back. So let's do this thing.
I missed you, buddy.
And yeah, you too, man. And we're also joined by Sarah in Sydney.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, the fact that we sometimes have four on, it means that we don't miss out on being on a podcast with each other very much. Because we have had those weird gaps sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I think
now,
it's been a while since I think it's been a while since Sarah and I have been on a pod together.
I think it has too. So yeah, it's good that happens a little bit less now.
Yeah. Well, you're in a new house compared to the last time we recorded. So how's that going?
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
that has been a while.
Yeah,
I think moved like 20th of April or something.
I don't think I've recorded with you since the new house either. It's been a while.
No, we were on one. We were on one recently.
I've just got a bad memory. I don't remember things.
It's only down the road. It's not like it's in a different dimension or anything. Hey, the house.
Yeah, that's right. It's 10 minutes drive away from the other one. But you know what's funny? It's closer to walk to like the shops and the movies and like the Westfield here. That it's closer to walk than it is to drive.
But you still drive.
It's 3 minutes. No, I walk when I can. It depends how much shopping I'm doing because I don't want to cart all the shopping all the way back. But yeah, if I have to go like and do a big shop, then I'll take the car, and it takes like 3 times as long with the car because of stupid car parks and things like that. So yeah, it's very convenient. I'm really enjoying it.
You'll be angry that day you go there and you have to park further than you would have to walk from home. You know, that'll be the one that really stings.
That will really sting. I'll probably just drive back home and walk and get one of those granny shopping bag things, the ones with the wheels so you can just...
a little trolley, a little granny
shopping
trolley.
Cart thing, yeah. Granny trolley, whatever it's called, yeah.
I don't know what they're actually called, those things.
What are they called? They must have a name.
Motorized.
There must be a board game about them somewhere.
Oh, wait, Dan will know.
I was waiting for it. I actually thought Mike was going to be the one that pulled the trigger on that joke, but Sarah, didn't let me down. I'm staying right out of it, and I was just waiting for this shot across the bow.
I'm sorry. It's just everyone else is doing it,
I know, yeah.
Peer pressure.
So there's a lot been going on since we obviously all last hung out. And one of those sort of major things, I think, for us has been the Board Game BBQ winners, like the award winners have been announced. So
yes.
It's been really interesting, actually. Some of them games that on there, I was like, some of them are like, yeah, 100%. I would have thought that would have won, but some of them were not surprising, but yeah, just ones that I didn't think would go all the way, which, surprised me a little bit. So, but do you want to talk a little bit about them, Dan? Some of the winners?
It was a lot of fun as well. This time we got to, because last time you'll remember we recorded it at our team retreat, but this time we recorded it sort of live in front of some of our game days in Brisbane, in Melbourne, and then Mitch and Def and Sarah picked up the slack, and they did it from in front of their home collections from their gaming rooms, which was kind of cool. But yeah, we can just go through them quickly if you want. So best solo game was Hadrian's Wall.
Yes,
that wasn't a surprise to me.
No, but it was interesting how and grateful to Bobby Hill for actually sort of sending through an acceptance speech, and how he sort of acknowledged that it wasn't originally designed as didn't actually have a solo component until Shem went, mate, you're on a winner here. This you should create a solo version of it, and it's obviously been proven to be successful, and everyone loves it. Got enough votes to win best solo game.
Yeah, all I've heard is good things about its solo. Like everyone says it's a good solo. So
I haven't even tried the campaign yet, and I still enjoy playing it solo occasionally. Like, I'm not a big solo player, but the game plays pretty much the same as you're playing with other people. It's not a huge difference, and that's for me what I like in a solo game, because I can play even solo. If I haven't played the game for 6 months and I want to give myself a refresher, I can play a solo, and there's not a whole lot I need to relearn, to teach other people. So it plays really well.
There's only really that one thing, that trading thing that is like interactive, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We had best family and best light game both went to Cascadia. It's
100%.
interesting because I wouldn't have picked it for like best light game. Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah. Same.
family game is interesting as well. I suppose because it is so easily.
It's appealing to both adults and kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's a great gateway game, so you can play it with friends, you can play it with families, old or young, and everyone can enjoy it. It's got a really good, very low sort of entry barrier, I suppose is what you would call it. Having said that, it's one of those ones where it's like easy to learn and hard to master.
Yeah,
100%.
It gets people coming back.
I thought it did so well because Mitch made a bunch of fake accounts to vote for it over and over again.
Best party game was So Clover, which is funny because it took so long for So Clover to get down here to Australia, and it's really taken off. Everyone is just loving it.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. We played it just last weekend, just me and MJ together, because it's just fun to see what you come up with some of the clues and how they interact. And some of them are pretty you've got to be kind of switched on and go like out of the box. But some of them are that when they happen and you get them, it's like, wow, that's amazing that you could even pluck that from those. That my clue was kind of loosely tying them together, and I can't believe you plucked that from that. I love it. So.
And that's probably where the most the fun comes from, is the negotiating and trying to sort of throw ideas around. And when it could be like a couple minutes to put your clues on your Clover, and then everyone can spend a good 10, 15 minutes on trying to work it out. And it's just, sometimes it's great to sit back and hear everyone. Other times it's just infuriating to hear them go off and just, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I was thinking.
I have to distract myself and they're guessing my ones. I'm like, I'm going to look at my phone and stop listening to you because I keep wanting to laugh or grin as to what you're guessing. So I just have to avoid what's going on.
You just played it again recently, didn't you, Mike?
I played it twice today, and for the first time ever, 4-player game, we got a perfect score. 6 points, 6 points, 6 points, 6 points. Got it right in the first round the whole time, and there was lots of high fives going around. It was a big thrill.
Yeah, it's good for that for sure.
I need to try this game.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, you'd like it. It's a good word game for sure.
So the other ones were best expansion went to Lost Ruins of Arnak, the expedition leaders, or Ross Lewins, as Adrian said in the video. So you can go.
Is that what I said? Ross Lewins? I can't believe that. I thought I was saying something about Ross Lewins.
I think Mike opened the envelope and said Lost Ruins, and you went, congratulations, Ross Lewins. It's really quick.
That was one of the designers.
I couldn't say anyone's name right, so I'm not saying anything.
I did give you the difficult envelope.
Oh my god, I know. I had like 9. There were 9 games and so many names. And so I didn't tell you guys this, but I sent Dan 2 files because I did one without the names, and I'm like, can you please use this one where I don't stuff up everyone's name? And he didn't use it.
I used the one where
if you don't watch the YouTube video to find out who won, you just watch to see how bad we butcher all the poor names on there.
Yeah.
We don't do research first. We probably should, but it makes it more funny just to give a good guess on the spot.
It's no different to the Oscars. They do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I deliberately gave best heavy game to Def because he just rolls through those European names like butter. I didn't realize there were so many in the family nominations that I gave Sarah as well.
Why would you do that to me?
Just to amuse myself. Best medium game also went to Hadrian's Wall as well, and best heavy game was Ark Nova. We had a tie on best artwork, which we had a tie last year as well. Do you remember what the tie was last year, guys?
Jaws of Lion on Mars.
Yeah, for the game of the year. So best artwork went to Canvas and to Oath. And we were lucky enough to get acceptance speeches from both. Jeff Chin from Road to Infamy for Canvas sent through an audio file thanking us and crediting the other artists on that work. And then Kyle Ferrin as well, who does most of the artwork for all the leader games, he sent through as well. So big thanks to both of them.
His video is awesome. It's like in a barn. Outside the barn, there's all these chickens
in the background.
That's epic. It's so cool.
He was actually the very first person when I sent all the winners sort of emails out. He was the first person who sent something through straight away. Awesome. He was like super appreciative of the fact that he was nominated, let alone that the community voted him one of the best artwork. And then game of the year was Ark Nova as well as best heavy game. So
I saw that one coming for both.
I saw that coming too. I don't know. There wasn't that many surprises for me. I kind of picked this. Arc Nova has been so popular. Cascadia is so popular. Hadrian. I don't know. Which ones did you guys think were like, whoa, that's out of the blue?
Surprise, because it's our community voting, and I think we kind of know what our community, like people outside of our community, people who don't listen to the podcast maybe, or that have only just seen the YouTube video, they might be interested to go, oh, okay, Hadrian's Wall, best solo game, or, you know, So Clover, best party game or whatever. But I think we interact with our community pretty closely, so when the nominees came out, yeah, I agree. I don't think I was overly surprised at what our members were going to vote for.
My only surprise for me, and it's only because I actually haven't looked at the game, Oath, I didn't think of as a art game, but like a beautiful art game, but I haven't seen it. I just, in my brain, I don't know why, I didn't picture it. So now I want to go and look at it now so I can see what
characters are really unique too, you know, like there's that one that's the cloud, like the grumpy cloud looking one, and it's really cool.
My biggest one was the Cascadia for best family game, because I feel that younger kids wouldn't play that. I think it's a harder game, but I think it's good for, like you said, parents, grandparents, and, you know, people that don't play games. So you are right, getting new people into the hobby. It's a good game for that, but it's, like you said, hard to master. Like, that game has got some serious depth to it for what it is. So yeah,
it's quite dinky. Like you have like quite a few different ways you can score, and so there's a little bit of min-maxing too, you know. It's like, oh, well, should I put this animal here, or I might get more there, and so you know, constantly weighing up all these little things. So it's quite a lot to think about for a family game.
Or leaving some spots towards the end just so they can get the perfect tile for the perfect spot, and then that tile may not appear, and
But
so it was a lot of fun, and thanks to everyone who took part, everyone who voted, everyone who nominated. We'll do it again next year. If you haven't already, head over to our YouTube channel and check out the video we cut. We did a few montages this year, something different from our game days and just of the team in general. And hopefully we'll see some photos on our socials soon from our award winners, because the actual awards themselves are en route to all of them. So look forward to seeing that.
It's awesome. So, what's the being played this week, guys? What's the game that you've played most? What's the new hotness you've enjoyed?
New hotness. I finally got, I don't know if it's the new hotness, but I had like a Kickstarter arrive months ago. I finally played it recently, and that was Rush MD. Yeah. And you remember when I talked about Kitchen Rush, right?
Yeah.
The real-time game. Yeah, so this one is obviously it's actually about like the medical department, MD medical department. So you're getting these patients coming in, they're coming into the clinic. Some have more serious problems that are going into the hospital, and it's a real-time game again. Your workers are little sand timers. So every time you get them to do a thing, like if they're going to diagnose somebody, that's one action, and you have to flip it over, and you can't move it until the timer has run all the way through, and then you can use it for another action kind of thing. So it's this, it's really fun. It's like you have to get a certain amount of prestige and money, I think. There's like 2 different things you need to reach a certain number of to be able to be successful. And you also, in this one, so in the first one, in Kitchen Rush, you're all just chefs. You're all the same thing, right? But in this one, your sand timer is a doctor, and there's also these neutral ones that are nurses, and some jobs in the hospital only doctors can do. Some only nurses can do. So I think the nurses that like take blood for people, they distribute the medication on the ward. There's like, if you have to do a surgery for someone, you have to make sure that someone's sand timer is there, and 2 nurses, 2 nurse sand timers are there too. So you have to make sure all this is timed perfectly well, and you're communicating and yelling the whole time. You're like, oh, you got to do this, and you only have like 4 minutes
because it's fully covered.
4 minutes to do everything
for the whole thing.
I think there's like 3 rounds.
Right.
So you get 3 rounds of 4 minutes, but it's like a fast burst of 4 minutes, and you have to talk about what you're going to do. And if there's anything you do wrong at the end of that 4 minutes, you have to look at like the patients, like, did you give the patient the wrong medication?
Oh, really?
Or did you like misdiagnose them, or did you like leave them and they had Like if you leave them and you didn't treat them, they get like more sick, right? So they get this like thing on them, like they're more sick, and then you lose prestige points, or you lose something. I can't remember what you lose now.
So Sarah, how does the sand timer work? When you flip the sand timer, is that have you got time? Sorry,
you're not allowed to move it. You're not allowed to move that worker.
So you're not doing actions until the sand runs out. The sand is actually once the sand runs out, that's when you can move the worker.
No, you do the action of that place straight away, but then you can't move them to do a new action until the sand has run out.
Right. So the sand timer is actually locking people in place. So as soon as the sand runs out, if you don't notice, then that's on you.
That's bad luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've
gotcha.
just been leaving it there. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, rushes in the name, and you can feel that. It's like really stressful. It's like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do that, and why did you do this? And oh my god, we don't have enough.
So is there ever a time when all the sand timers are going and everyone's just sitting there, just not doing anything, and waiting for the first sand timer to stop?
Well, this is the clever part, is that they've made them all slightly different.
Right.
Some take longer. Like some have more sand, some have less. So some take longer, some take shorter.
Just like in Pendulum, they have the 3 different timers, and each timer is like, I think one's 90 seconds, one's 30 seconds, and one's 2 minutes or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In this, it's like cool because it's like, oh, they're just more efficient at their job. Yeah. They're awesome at their job.
Or it was their job smaller. They might only be like taking one sample rather than doing like a full surgery or something.
Yeah, you could explain it away any way you want, but I keep finding like lungs and stuff on my floor, and because it was so because there's like body parts in the game, like you might have to give someone a kidney transplant or whatever, and then so you fall on the floor. So because of the the frantic nature of the game, I guess things ended up on the floor, and I keep finding things. Yeah. But there's like a dexterity element to it too. Like some of the things you have to actually balance things, or there's like puzzles. Like if you're trying to solve or cure somebody, you might have to do like a little mini game kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike, what were you asking?
Well, I think you answered. I was going to ask if I had like similar things like Kitchen Rush, where you have to look through a bag or do other things that are also frantic and busy. But it sounds like yes, it sounds like you do.
Yeah, they there was one thing in Kitchen Rush they didn't have in this. Where I think it's the spices or whatever.
Yeah,
you can't see them in the bag. No, they don't have anything hidden in a bag this time. Like if you need to like refill the supply with the blue drugs, you're allowed to do that. You can just take them from the thing. So so there was that. But yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and in fact we all enjoyed it so much we played it a couple more times straight after, which is always nice.
Do you think timed games work better as a co-op as opposed to being against each other? Because I personally haven't enjoyed the games I've played where you're against each other timed, because I'm slow. I don't mind it. I'm not fast enough to see everything.
I suppose when you're competitive, you've already got that pressure anyway. Now suddenly a ticking clock or a sand timer is an added pressure that you just don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of many real-time games that I've played competitive. I mean, there is Captain Sonar, which I love, but that's a team game, so you've got other people stressing out with you, and you're listening to what the other team are doing and where they're going, and you're trying to. That's definitely a stressful game, though. They're all stressful.
They're designed to be, right? It's trying to push your buttons and stress you out.
I mean, there's a lot of word games that are competitive that have sand timers, but we generally don't use them when we play Decrypto or Just One or anything like that. Well, that's
Galaxy Tracker can have that, where you're getting timed on how quick you can
flip the tiles over and stuff.
Build your tiles for your spaceship, and that's pretty stressful.
True. And if someone is really good at building a spaceship in Galaxy Tracker and you're not, then they're just gonna.
I know. My friend does that too all the time.
Yeah.
I've always loved the sand timer in Magic Maze. That's great.
That's cool.
And then you have the ability to land on that square that then flips the sand timer over and buys you more time. But then when you flip the timer, that's when you're allowed to speak as well. So
you're allowed to flip it on that side for a minute and then have a quick discussion.
Have a conversation and then go again, because that's played in absolute silence, supposedly.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
And that's intense, that game. Anything with the sand timer, just adds the anxiety for me.
Yeah, definitely.
It actually looks a lot like Theme Hospital, like the graphics and everything. I know obviously it's set in a similar thing.
Yeah.
Is it the same?
Which game? Sorry, Theme Hospital.
Yeah,
What's
Or
that?
computer game.
it's a video game, like, but it
Oh,
looks
okay.
so similar, like ridiculously similar. Is it the same graphics for Kitchen Rush? Is it the same artist and stuff? Or
Yeah,
is
the
it
same
different?
artist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Evangelist, I think his name is. I can't remember the name off the top of my
And
head.
did you
But yeah,
back
it's the
this,
same
or someone
company
else
and
backed
everything.
it,
I
Sarah, and you
backed
played
it.
it?
I
Okay,
backed
cool.
it, yeah. And there's a bunch of like Kickstarter stuff I haven't looked at yet. But, but yeah, it's just a bit of fun. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
That's great.
best timed game, like best real time game you think you've played?
I don't know. That's really hard. I gotta say, I think Space Alert probably is still my favorite. You guys haven't played that one, have you? It's like you're all on a ship, and again, it's co-op, and you have basically 10 minutes. You have a 10-minute soundtrack, and you're all like working out from your cards what you're going to play, and it's a program game, so you put everything down in which space you want to do it, and it'll tell you, in T-2, you're going to have an alien ship come in and stuff like that. So you'll know when you're going to get attacked and where they're going to hit the ship, and you have to make sure that everyone has got, like, the shield has to be ready, the guns have to be ready. You've got to make sure they're charged because you need to power them. You've got to make sure someone has to move there's this funny thing in it where it's like someone has to move the mouse on the computer, because if someone doesn't move the mouse, then the screensaver comes on, and the screensaver crashes the entire ship's systems. So everyone's stuff gets shifted like one space to the right or something if someone doesn't do that at the right time. It's so funny. Anyway, and if someone makes a mistake, they have to shift all their cards back. So they ended up doing all this weird stuff at the wrong time, and everything just fails. And so that one's really fun. I like that game. I don't even think I have a real-time game that I don't like.
Yeah, okay.
I kind of like all of them. I think I like that zaniness of.
They're all co-op ones, right?
They're all co-op though, yeah.
Yeah. I've also had a bit of a stressful week, not in a frantic rush, but it's meant that I've had to buy a litre bottle of, I think it's isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah.
Because I was painting a mini, and you know what? It's the first time that I've done it, and I just hated it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? So you had to strip it off?
Abort.
Did you? Tell me you took a photo of what it looked like.
I've
Did you take a photo of what it looked like?
I will show you. Like, I've ordered a bottle of this stuff because I spoke to Jules about it, and he assures me that he's done it plenty of times before, and it's something that, like, it's basically like the feature piece for KDM. So I don't really want to like have it. Me not happy with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's like the biggest one that's in the box, and I think that I will learn from it by redoing it, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. I think I tried something and it just didn't really work out, and I wasn't happy, so it's best to start again. But it's been like, it was quite hard because it's weird because I'm not very experienced with minis, so I kept like trying to paint more on it to make it better, just make it worse.
Worse and worse. Oh no!
Like 12 layers of paint on it, lost all its detail.
Add more paint.
Pretty much.
Is it a larger mini?
Yeah, it is.
It's hard. I think it's harder to paint them when you've got more space. It's a bit more forgiving when they're small.
Yeah,
can't
it
see all the
is.
details.
Yeah, I found that for sure. And like, it's going to be a hard process because I've got to like get this isopropyl bottle of toothbrush and scrub all the paint off of it. Which I've watched a few videos on how to do it, and that's going to be a bit of a process in itself. But yeah, it's one of those weird things that I haven't done this before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was happy with my other ones, whereas this one I looked at it and was like, this just looks bad. Like, it looks sucks. Like, I hate it. And I was really upset because the first half of it was great. Did really well on the first half, super stoked. But when I started doing the skin, I was like, oh God, this is not good. This is too late. So
it is upsetting. And you think like, oh, I should be getting better at this. But, you're always going to have like, those times when you're just like, oh, this mini's just not going the way I want it to.
Yeah. And I've been assured by Jules it happens, and it's better to start again and be happy with it than just to leave it and go.
For sure.
But so
I would say though, if you've got a mini that you painted like a few years ago, then don't ever do that. Like, keep like the record of your progress. Don't go over a mini that you painted, just so you can you can see the evolution. But I think if you've only just done it and you're not happy with it, then
I'm not happy with that at all. It looks terrible.
I can't wait to see it. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
That was one of the good things about painting zombies in Zombicide, because if you stuff something up on a zombie, you just cover it in blood.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's actually
fixes
probably,
everything.
honestly, it's not that bad if I'm honest. It's just that I don't like the skin of it. Like, it's just too purpley, and it should be more sort of flesh looking, and it just doesn't look right. It's not how I envisioned it. So I want to
It's a
start
fantasy-
again.
Camera, it looks
It's
totally
a
fine.
fantasy creature. It's a fantasy creature, so you can
Yeah.
explain it
Purple skin.
away. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, true. But I think it's
Yeah.
too late now. In my brain, I hate it. I can't
Oh,
get
yeah.
that out. I'm like, I just.
I mean,
it's
if you
not
want to
right.
change it, change it. But
You
don't
gotta
be
be
too
happy
hard.
with
Don't
it.
be too hard on yourself.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But
the
no,
fact that
it's
you got
good.
it done
It's
in
like
the first place is a
yeah,
win.
it's a learning experience, and I still enjoy painting. Like, it's great, and I love all the wings on it and stuff. I just don't like the skin, so it's like I don't think there's a way to get just some of it off. I think you just got to do the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So well, but it's still cool. It's still part of the journey, right? Like
Mm.
painting
Yeah,
minis
and you'll
stuff
have a new
learning.
skill. You'll know how to strip a mini now.
Yeah, for many to come, probably. So that's why I bought a liter bottle of that stuff. I was like, I'm probably going to do this again, so I might as well just buy a liter bottle. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and that's the thing. Like, I really enjoy painting. Like, I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did, and like many people do it, they put on a documentary or a podcast, and man, 5 hours goes like in a heartbeat.
Oh no, it goes so quickly, doesn't it? It's crazy.
And that's kind of part of the parcel of people saying, "Oh, I'd love to paint more, but I just don't get the time." And you're right, because if you sit down, all of a sudden 5 hours is gone. You're like, "Wow, that's my whole evening." Just and I've done like hardly anything because I'm slow. So like, I can't paint fast. So, but yeah, that was an interesting sort of thing to accept this week. Is like, I hate that thing. It's got to be fixed.
I'm sure it's a part of the learning part with it,
Yeah,
like you'll learn
sure.
for next time, and learning how to
100%.
change a paint job and happy with is probably going to be something you might need to know again later. So it's good to learn, I'm sure.
Yeah. So sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but I just thought I'd report back on that. And yeah.
I'm sure many people resonate with your feelings, mate.
For sure. Exactly.
Oh no, I know exactly what it's like, because like you'll have times where you're like, oh, I'm getting really good at this, and then you'll paint a mini and you're just looking at it and you're just like, I'm not happy with this at all.
I'm surprised you can even find the time. It's actually one of my outstanding oaths to paint some of my Super Fantasy Brawls, and I just I haven't found the time to sit down. The only time I generally have time to either play games or do any of that sort of stuff is at night, and most days I'm knackered.
Yeah.
So
Oh, no.
for me to sit down
been like that
after
for
the
me.
boys have gone to bed and try and paint, I'd be nodding off. I'd probably end up stabbing myself in the eye with a paintbrush.
I have like, when I got really excited about painting like one of the last minis that I did, I was like, I was going so well, and for me, I was smashing through it, and I painted it in like an evening and a bit. And I had like a thick layer of glazed whatever that is over my eyelids because I was so tired and I couldn't really see properly. But I was still going. I was like, please, I just trying to finish it. And then I was like, I got to go to bed. I'm getting sand in my eyes.
No wonder you confused pink with purple then.
That's exactly right. So. But yeah, apart from the minis thing, I've been playing loads of like random games that I have been trying to play for a while and have always been on my list of games to try and play. And one of them was Carcassonne. I got
Such a
to
good
play
game.
it for the first time ever. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. I thought
Did
it was
you play
great.
completely
Two-player?
base? Oh, sorry.
I played it 3-player. I believe it was the base game, possibly had one thing in it. It had churches in it, which I'm not sure if that's a base game or not, with like a...
The monasteries where you got to cover all around them. Yeah, that's base.
Yeah, okay, that was in it. And yeah, as far as I'm aware, that was it. That was just the only thing that sort of stood out that potentially might have been not the base game. But they had the whole box with a bunch of different things in it, but we just played the base game because I hadn't played it before. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really competitive, and you could be quite
Did it get me?
competitive even. Yeah, it did a couple of times. There's a couple of times where I was like, I know this is a really not very great move, and I'll play dumb like I don't really know it's a terrible, horrible move, but I have to do it because if I don't do it, I'm basically screwing myself. So I'm just going to have to put that there. And I got called on it a couple of times, I think, but it's really good. It's a great game.
Were you trying to steal people's fields or get on their cities?
I was trying to like
Or both.
make my own cities and like trying to cut paths off and stuff. Like it was
okay.
It was really good. Like, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. And so there were some points where I didn't realize, if I put that there, then that means we all score that road, which isn't great. Do you know what I mean? But it's better that I was scoring it than not scoring anything. Do you know what I mean? Even though they would score as well. But yeah, I was really, really enjoyed it. I can see why it's a, family favorite or a gateway favorite. And was it still in the top 100 on BGG? Like I'd say it's definitely got to be in the top 200 somewhere because it's everywhere.
I think it is still popular. I mean,
I'd say it would be.
It's a classic.
Yeah, great game. Really enjoyed it.
I like it too. I mean, it can be just really it can be really strategic, like you said. Just get your meeple back, score along with someone else, and that's fine. But then just try and like take over their something, somewhere else. Try and take over their city or whatever. And
I love muscling on the city.
Yeah.
So
love
fun.
muscling in on the city.
Yeah. or putting a tile near a city that you can't get on just so they'll never be able to close it.
Renata gets upset. In one of the expansions, there's a tile that you can. There's a tile that you can try to use to jump into a city. So it's like an aircraft of some sort. So you put your meeple down on it and you roll a die, and that's how many tiles you can leap across to try to jump into somebody's city. I always do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really fun. It says it's the only time you ever use a die in it, and the die only has 1, 2, or 3, but you basically put it and it's got an arrow. So as long as it's pointing towards a road or a city or anything else you want to muscle in on, you roll the die and see if it gets you to where you want to go. So it's a bit of push your luck, but I love doing that because I love just trying to share somebody's points that weren't mine. It's so much fun.
Have you played it, Dan?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I was playing at home. That's why I've been quiet during this conversation.
Yeah.
I haven't. I seem to
love it
vaguely. I think recall vaguely playing it on BGA or something, but no, I don't. No, I don't have any. Remember significant anything. No.
I think you'd enjoy it, Dan.
Because I know you like Land vs. Sea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
And as of recording right now, it is actually number 200 on the BGG.
Oh, there you go.
There you
go. Wow, there you go. Just staying in.
Just double checked it. But no, it's funny because Carcassonne and Agricola. Carcassonne, Agricola, and Catan are 3 kind of staple games.
Yeah.
I haven't played any of them.
Okay.
So,
which one would you?
I hear it.
Be
I
most
feel a note
interested?
coming on.
Yeah, which one would you most?
I don't own them either.
In
So
playing?
I have no interest in any of them, to be perfectly honest.
Otherwise, you would have played them, probably.
Yeah. I feel as though that window's closed, and there's just too many other good games out there. So I was like, I'll just play everything else that's out there.
Yeah, I must admit, when I I own Land vs. Sea, and I won't own Carcassonne now because you can play Carcassonne on the app or on BGA, and I think I prefer having a bit more choice with the tiles because in Carcassonne, and this is part of the game and it's quite kind of cool because it's limiting, but you just draw one tile and that's what you get, and it's possible that you're just going to draw a road. Like if you get 4 or 5 straight roads in a row, it's like, oh, come on. It can be really frustrating.
It can be punishing, I suppose, because everyone else is doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Great game. Thanks to Matt Woods who invited me around his place to play it. It was really cool. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So Mike, what have you been sizzling this week, man? What's your standout game?
A game, it's probably not my sizzle for the week just yet, but a game that's been played a lot with my friends lately is one that we really recently came to learn about called Word Slam. Speaking about your really simple word association games, Word Slam has been getting an absolute beating with me and my friends. It's just been a lot of fun because it's a word game you can play in teams. So you'll have 2 teams, and the captain at the time of each team is trying to get you to guess a word, and both teams are trying to guess the same word. But you basically have 4 decks of cards in front of you, colored differently. One of them is nouns, one of them are verbs, adjectives, and prepositions. And basically what you're doing is as fast as you can, you're trying to put all these cards out in a row to try to spell out what word you're trying to guess, you know? So it's hard to say, but, you know, you might be trying to make someone guess basketball, and it might be round, people, game. Like, you're trying to get all these words out as quick as you can. But the fun part is, if the other team is giving better clues than you are, you can still use what they're guessing. If you hear them guessing certain words, you can sort of put 2 and 2 together and try to use it to your own advantage. It's been a really, really fun game. It's just really fast-paced and lots of cheering, and everyone's having a big laugh because you're all trying to guess these words at the same time.
So is there a code master that knows the word?
Yeah, so one person from each team is the person that's using the cards to put out all the clues. But
right.
The code master, what do you want to call, from each team are both trying to do the same word at the same time.
Right. Okay. Cool.
It's just been really funny. It's just been really, really fun, and just sort of gets everyone's blood boiling. It's a really good one for the start of a game night because it gets everyone pumped, gets everyone working together, and just becomes a really good laugh. So that's been getting a lot of play with us lately. And I just ordered a copy for $17 delivered. Like,
yeah, wow.
Can't really argue with that. It's nice and cheap and small, and just brings a bunch of fun to everyone. So it's
it's a bit of an oldie too, that one, isn't it?
I don't think it's new. I've never heard of it before. When I looked at the box, I didn't think much. I'm like, oh, okay, word slam. Let's see what this is. And they started explaining it to me. But once you just start playing, it just, especially, there's different levels of cards you can choose from. So we started doing the black cards, just the most difficult ones with really awkward words that you wouldn't normally think about. And they were the best ones because instead of being like, you know, you're playing for 30 seconds and guessing a word, we're there for 5 minutes really busting up. Like, what the hell are they trying to say to us? And I don't know if you're allowed to, but we're even using hand gestures like, look at that card. That card's the one I'm really trying to get you to focus on, or things like that. You know, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, nice. It sounds a bit frantic as well.
It is frantic.
It's kind of fun.
It's just bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. My main game that I've been playing, though, my main one that got my attention this week was I finally played Planet Unknown, which I'm not sure if you've seen yet. It's a game that comes with a Lazy Susan, which just sell itself. It's a Lazy Susan in the middle of the table, and it's a tile placement game. And the cool thing with the Lazy Susan, it works into the game. It's not just to access all the pieces easier. You each have like a row you can choose from. And they have 2 tiles on it, a big tile and a small tile. So on your turn, you're going to spin the Lazy Susan to choose a tile that you like. And for your other players, whatever tile you land them on, they have to choose one of those tiles as well. So it might be beneficial to them, it might not be. But you're basically trying to get these tiles and fill them out on a little planet that you have in front of you, and you're using these tiles to try to go up a bunch of tracks to get you points. And there's a few different tracks that you're trying to get, and each tile is made up of like different terrain types that, you know, one might be water or civ or biomass or a rover or a tech. And when you put down that terrain type, it lets you go up in the tracks, and the tracks might start giving you points, or they might start giving you other abilities you can use throughout the game. And for someone like me who absolutely loves tile placement, it was a real pleasure to play. Like, just trying to work out which track you want to go up first and how you're going to tackle the points was really exciting. And basically you play until somebody can't fill a spot on the map anymore. And then you sort of back off, and you finish the game once no one can place any tiles anymore. But it's pretty combo-tastic, like as we like to say, because when you go up one track, it might let you go up another track for free, and then you go up that track, and it might let you have another turn over here, and you sort of do a few different things at once. And the theme is you're trying to terraform a planet, and it's not terraforming Mars. But as you place the tiles, some of the really good tiles have meteorites on them as well. And if you get a meteorite, you actually can't score. When you score for completely filled in rows and columns at the end of the game. And if there's a meteorite in that row or column, you actually can't score that row or column. So you get these little rovers on the board that you get to move around by placing rover tiles to go and collect all the meteorites. So you're trying to do 2 things at once, but you're trying to place other tiles to achieve this goal and that goal, and you're just trying to do everything at once. It was really satisfying. And if you have the game, I played the very simple version, but as you play it more and more, there's different sides, like different planets you can do, which have very different sort of feel to them. And the track boards, there's new track boards that mix up your abilities and they might mean completely different things. And you might have a different goal for the whole game. So it feels like the more times you play it, you get a lot of variability, which I've only played it once. But if anyone's willing to sell me a copy, then I'll be able to play it a lot more.
Is it hard to get hold of?
Yeah, especially the deluxe version. I nearly bought a copy from America. There's a bunch of stores in America doing pre-orders because it just got fulfilled from Kickstarter.
Yeah, okay.
But you can tell it's a good game because no one is selling their copies. Everyone's loving it at the moment.
Those track boards look a little bit complicated. Like, do they unlock different abilities and stuff like that?
They do unlock different abilities.
All the writing, looks complex.
Looking at the game, it looks complex. The game plays in an hour.
Not beige enough is what
it's actually a light game, and that's one thing that really surprised me. When I saw the game, I saw all the tracks and I saw different abilities you unlock as you go up the tracks. And I thought it was going to be like a 2-hour complicated tile layer. And it was like, no, it's actually really simple. These are how the track works. You can explain each track in about a minute. And the game played for the first time. 2 of us were playing for the first time. And we played it in, I think, an hour and 5 minutes. And it was done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
it goes up to 6 as well by the looks of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. I knew I'd like it as soon as I played it. And I absolutely loved it. And I'm hanging to get a copy now so I can try to play it a few more times. There's a solo mode in it as well. But it looks like even if you play 2-player, I can't see it being... It's not too much player interaction in it. It's other than when I turn the Lazy Susan, wherever I choose to land to benefit me, you got to choose a tile that may not benefit you. That's the main player interaction. You get what you're sort of given. But that didn't really bug me that much in the game. There were times that I could have used something a bit different, but you sort of can manage. And I really like the very last tile, the tech track sort of breaks the rules of the game. So if you start going up the tech track, you can break rules. Like the main rule in the game is you have to place tiles orthogonally adjacent. One of the first rules you can break when you go up the tech track is breaking that rule. You can place wherever you like. So I'd made sure to rush up that track first so I can place tiles, wherever it suited me, because once again, you don't always get a choice of what tile you're laying. So I found it to be pretty beneficial. But no, that game for me, definitely sizzling. Hot off the press, and I'm doing that.
It looks like a game for you, Mike. It's got tiles that you lay on the board, and you love
that.
Yeah,
no more.
All the bits, and it's gimmicky with the Lazy Susan. I need this. They made it for me, and I need to get a copy.
Someone tell Mike he doesn't need a copy of every game that he likes.
I'm trying.
I'm not trying
to tell Mike that.
Mike.
I have said no to a few Kickstarters lately because I got Gen Con coming up, and I'm trying to say no. But this is the one that is definitely Kickstarter regret, and I'm chasing around trying to sniff out a copy now.
I find that when you have a Kickstarter regret, you go into like overload or buying Kickstarters so you don't
to fill that void.
Yeah, so you don't have that feeling again for at least like 9 months.
Exactly.
Just future-proofing that FOMO.
I've done that. I've just been doing that recently, actually.
Really? What was the one that you missed out on that you are now going on a Kickstarter rampage?
You know what? It's that bad that I can't even remember. My habit's that bad.
It was so traumatic you can't even remember the game.
It's so traumatic. I'm over it. But so everyone's like, I'm not missing out on this. I'm not missing out on that. Nope, definitely not missing out on this one. And then,
I never want to feel like this again.
Pretty much. So it sounds great though, Mike. It looks cool. And the quality looks great on the little polyomino bits. Like they look really nice.
It was awesome quality. Lots of fun. And once again, that it plays in an hour and had really good fun choices to make in it. It just, I don't know a lot of games that give me that layer, that sort of satisfaction and plays in an hour. And the pack up was really quick and simple because everything goes back into the Lazy Susan and off you go. Like it's
the Lazy Susan.
More games need a Lazy Susan.
The Lazy Susan
I'll get that on a t-shirt, Sarah. More games need Lazy Susans. 100%.
The Lazy Susan is split into 6 for 6 players, right? Is that how it works? So that when you turn
the Lazy Susan is just the game. It's a part of the game because you spin it to choose what tiles you want, and that's how it allocates everyone else what tile they get.
Okay, so when it turns, it faces a certain direction, and
you all get a little arrow, arrow token, and you put it down, and you're like, okay, whatever lands there is what I get.
I see how you
So when Dan chooses his tile, whatever tile lands in front of me in front of my arrow, I have to take one of those 2 tiles.
It's like the Wheel of Fortune.
That's it. But like when it's my turn and I turn that thing, you then have to take the tiles. So everyone's playing simultaneously kind of thing as well.
Correct, exactly, yeah.
That's probably why it keeps that time down, right? Because everyone's constantly
it's
doing
like if you had a pizza and each slice is a different flavor, and you turn the pizza to take a slice, whatever flavor's in front of me is what I have to take, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, it's good because everyone gets to keep playing constantly. You don't really have any downtime, so it goes fast, and it sounds awesome.
Just like pizza, even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Still good.
Every pizza should come with a lazy season too, by the way.
I have it on good authority from Matt Riddle that the best thing for an air fryer is to reheat your pizza from the leftovers. Yeah. He says that is the best thing, the number one thing for it. So
I use a sandwich press too.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No microwave for leftover pizza. No.
We don't own a microwave, so I'm going to try the sandwich press now and compare it to the air fryer.
Gets it makes it nice and crispy on the bottom again. Sacrificing it.
You guys are professionals. Look at you.
This morning for breakfast. I had my breakfast this morning.
There you go.
Nice.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. I want to talk a little bit about one of our sponsors who has sponsored the podcast from the very beginning, and that is Advent Games. Adventgames.com.au is an Australian board game store. This is the store where I get all of my games from, so you know that I'm not just advertising it just because. This is very personal to me. And Dean, who runs it, is very knowledgeable about games. He is a huge board gamer himself, and he often gives advice and things like that, and just awesome all-round customer service. So all around New South Wales, you can get flat rate shipping from adventgames.com.au for $10. If you're somewhere else in Australia, you can get flat rate shipping for $15, not that much more. And if you are super local, you can even see Dean at Chatswood on Tuesday nights to pick up games from him, from his very paws. So that is adventgames.com.au. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast.
So what have you been playing, Dan? What's been going on in Melbourne?
I got a couple of things, but the one I wanted to sizzle today is, and I think... Sarah, you would enjoy this. I think Zolly would like it, and I think Finn would like it as well, because Jack has really, really loved Chronicles of Avel, or Chronicles of Avel. I suppose it depends on which syllable you put the emphasis on. But it's a family game. It's a cooperative game, and funny enough, it's a Mage Knight light.
Oh,
so yeah, so you play. It's cooperative. You play as a band of adventurers, and you have to defend your castle from the creatures that are in the realm, including this big baddie that appears about halfway through the game. And so you lay out a series of hexagonal tiles, and only the first 3 tiles are face up, and then the rest are all face down, and you need to actually move onto those tiles to explore them. So it creates like a fog of exploration. And when you flip them over, you uncover all these areas of interest which you can interact with as part of your turn. So it might be gaining gold, it might be spending gold to purchase things, or there's these lairs where the monsters are. And each of the monsters have different levels of difficulty. They have a different, there's 3 different colors that are attributed to them, because you can actually get gear that will work on a green monster or a brown monster and it might be something as simple as just re-rolling a dice, or it might be you get an automatic defense against them or an automatic attack against them. And you roll dice to attack and defend against the monsters, and you also roll dice for the monsters to attack and defend you. So you might have sort of, maybe initially you might have about 4 or 5 dice that you roll. It's like, okay, well, I didn't attack, but he blocked that one, then he attacked me, but I blocked this one, then there's another attack for me which he didn't block, and he loses one hit point. And there's smaller monsters which are anywhere from 1 to 3 hit points, and then there's some larger ones which can be sort of 4 or more. And when you defeat them, you gain gold, which you can use to purchase at these areas of interest. You can purchase traps. You can purchase these, like a seal, to seal off a lair so no monsters come out of there. You can also purchase walls that will help defend the castle. And you can buy, or you might get loot. And there's a bag that you put your hand into, and the rule book says you're allowed to feel the shapes of what's in there, but you're only allowed to take I think it's about 5 seconds. And the book even suggests that there's a song that everyone has to sing so you can't spend forever trying to find a sword or find a shield or find a helmet. But they're the 3 main loots. There's also potions.
Take it away
as
then.
well.
What's this song?
Yeah, how do you
No,
sing
I
it?
don't. I don't know. I don't know the song. I'll edit it in later. No, I won't. But the idea of the game is that you're playing and you're leveling up all your gear. You're sealing layers. You're putting traps down because there's a moon track at the bottom of the board. And after everyone's had a turn, the moon the marker, the tracker actually progresses along the moon track until it gets to the point where there's a full moon or a dark moon, and that's when the beast actually appears at the back of the map. So if you haven't explored the whole area, then everything that's been unexplored flips over. The beast appears, and the beast could be anywhere from 20. The beast is 20 hit points, but you can increase level of difficulty as well. And from that point on, after everyone's had a turn, everything on the track, everything on the board, including the beast, starts to move towards the castle. And so now it's a matter of so now it's almost like a tower defense game where you're trying to, hopefully you've put the traps in the right spot, or you've blocked off some of the layers to make it easier for you, and you're trying to basically wipe everything off the board, including this beast, which is sort of heading towards the castle. And it's super fun. It feels a bit sort of Mage 90 light. The best thing about the game is the character sheets. First of all, you do get a physical sheet of paper which you can put your name on. You can put an emblem if you want, like a family crest. You can color it in. So Jack and Ollie were coloring in their little sort of warriors, and then you put it in a double thickness character board, which also is where you put a shield over one arm, you put a sword over one arm, you put the helmet over the head. The little health points go down the left hand side, and on the right hand side is a backpack, which is, like I said, double thickness, so the backpack's cut out, and you're allowed to put gold coins or whatever gear you want as long as it fits in the backpack. You're not allowed to double them up, and you're not allowed to overlap them. So you might get something and pick it up. If it doesn't fit in your backpack, you're going to have to sacrifice something to make room for the backpack.
That's
Even
a
something
great
simple
idea,
as if you're collecting a whole bunch of gold, if it doesn't fit in your backpack, you can't collect all that gold. So then you go, okay, do I want this potion? Maybe I get rid of this extra shield so I can put more gold in. It's a really, really clever idea, and again, it's a nice little way of having the kids sort of customize their character. Yeah. So that's really, really cool.
And think about like having to sacrifice something.
Absolutely, yeah. So you're allowed to. There's no rules in terms of you're not allowed to swap out a weapon or a shield or something mid battle. But if you're going up against a green monster and you've got a sword in your backpack that goes well against those green monsters, you can swap your swords before you go into fight. So it might give you an extra dice, for instance, or it might allow you to re-roll one of the monster's dice. So if he rolls a hit, you can actually you can use your sword and you just put a little token on the sword to say that it's been exhausted during this battle, because it's not infinite, it's only one per battle, and then you can re-roll that monster's dice, and so it doesn't actually attack anymore. It's really, really cool. Ollie, we actually played 4 players, and we were sort of helping Ollie, but he just wanted to attack monsters. He lost interest after about an hour, but Jack was right there to the end, and yeah, he absolutely loved it. So, and we came away with a win too, which was always good.
Do you feel like the customization helps the kids like stay a bit more into it? Do you feel that draws them in a lot more?
You can name. I mean, Jack named his warrior Jack. Mine was Salady Poopy Pants, just because. Of course, I've got a 7-year-old, so everything's all poop. But then there's male and female characters that you can do up. And the other thing is, you don't actually, because you're not actually drawing anything on the character sheet, the physical piece of paper, you can reuse it next time. There's no need to throw it away. It just slots inside the character board, and so next time you play, you're going to use the same character you used last time, or you can maybe give it a different name or whatever. There's no sort of legacy in terms of things carrying over from game to game, but you can create your own character and use that character every time you play, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and anything that the kids can do to sort of customize it and make the game theirs is always a win. So yeah, it came out last year. Chronicles of Avel
Yeah,
from Rebel.
it looks
Rebel
lovely.
Studios.
All of
And,
those little
yeah.
hexagons look lush, like the really cool art
Yeah,
style.
the artwork is really
Yeah.
really nice.
Really nice.
Components are nice and solid wooden ones. And
Have you
Yeah.
played Cora Quest as well, Dan?
no,
Oh, okay, you haven't played that one
didn't
Just
back
I
that. I know
have.
Adrian's spoken about it recently.
yet. Yeah, I remember listening to that one. I know you've got Stuffed
Mm.
Fables as well. There seems to be like quite a few of the like dungeon crawler for the younger generation.
Yeah, I mean,
happening at
even
the moment.
Wonder Book that we talked about earlier this year. That's another one that was sort of just a dungeon crawler with really just basic. You have 4 choices of your actions, so
Yeah.
it doesn't overcomplicate things for kids. You can move, you can fight, you can interact with something on the board. The other thing with this game is as well is if you are on the same hexagon, you can actually trade whatever you want, and it doesn't actually. It's not actually an action. So, okay, you want some of my here, you take some of my gold, I'll take your sword, and you can sort of, it really encourages that sort of family cooperation. There is a way to play solo as well. It comes with a few little tokens that kind of act as like a secondary timer. But yeah, I think it's designed to be played cooperatively as a family. So I think it's a great one for families out there.
Nice.
It does look really pretty. The box art reminds me a lot of Century Golem edition. Like that golem looks
Yeah.
has a sort of vibe to it.
The golem
really
looks like Groot, but stone.
Yeah.
Stone Groot.
Yeah.
It looks really pretty.
And I'm pretty sure that almost all of them, I don't remember seeing any doubles in all the monsters that we flipped over as well. So you flip over a tile, there might be a layer that you have to put there might be 2 layers. So you take from the face down pile of monsters and put them out. And I don't remember seeing any doubles. So there's a lot of unique artwork for all of them as well. Yeah.
No, the
That's
artwork
very
looks
cool.
great. Looks really
It's
nice. Looks like it'll
really-
really draw kids in.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And
It's
big
awesome.
kids too, Mike.
And big kids too.
Nice.
Sorry, we're all big kids.
What was it? What was your name again? Dr. something Poopy Pants? What was it?
It was Lady Poopy Pants.
Lady Poopy Pants.
There you go. Cool. Yeah, and while we're talking to Dan and that down in Melbourne, I hear you guys have got a bit of news coming up.
We do now.
Yeah.
We wanted to disclose this a little bit earlier, but it hadn't been confirmed. But this weekend, Mike, Jules, and myself are going to be at Comic-Con in Melbourne. We're going to be setting up. We're going to be appearing as the Board Game Barbecue, and we're going to be basically doing a smaller version of our game days. So we're going to be talking to the crowd over there. The Comic-Con themselves have a small tabletop area, so we're going to be parked in amongst all the tabletop games in the libraries, and we're going to be bringing along some of our Board Game Barbecue library and doing some teachers hopefully introducing some new people to the hobby, offering in our inimitable style some gaming lessons, and I think we're probably going to take some games along that sort of skew to the more pop culture side of things. But if you are at Comic-Con, this weekend as we're recording, please make sure you swing past and say hi. We're going to be there on the Saturday and the Sunday. I'm looking forward to it, Mike.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I love all the geek conventions and just going to hang out all day and play games. Like, what more can you ask for? I just
Yeah.
want to play games with somebody who's cosplayed really cool. I reckon that'll be awesome.
That would be great. So
Playing
big
like
thanks to Jess
Marvel champions
from,
with a bunch of Marvel dressed up people.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing
Oh,
Dan
nice.
dressed up as Lady Poopy Pants.
Hey,
I
don't
want to see
ruin
that
my
cosplay.
costume. So yeah, Jess from Comic Con has helped set this up. We actually reached out to them and went, "Here's what we're thinking." They just went, "We would love that." We went, "All right, let's work out the details." So if it goes well, I think we'll be doing the same at Brisbane and Sydney later on this year as well. We missed Adelaide unfortunately because it was a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, really looking forward to being at Oz Comic Con this weekend in Melbourne.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. What about you, Sarah? What have you been playing this week?
So my
Sure.
sizzle is actually The Smoky Valley by Claude Siwa. I can't say it as good as JB. I actually asked JB in the community how to pronounce it today because I didn't want to get it wrong. So The Smoky Valley. So it's a Spielworks game, and it's going to be hard to sort of explain how good it is by the theme, because the theme is pretty much just bunch of Euro things, right? So it's got
Beige
all
on
the things
beige.
Euros have. Beige on beige. Yeah, it is a bit beige, but it's a very good looking game. Basically, there's 5 different areas in town. So it's based in Griffintown in Canada, and it's by there's a canal running through this town, and there's 5 different areas, boroughs or provinces or whatever they are called in Canada. 3 of which are like next to the canal, and 2 are not, but they can be connected via rail, right? So anyway, basically the game is very limiting in that you have this board with the 5 areas on it, and you have a little piece. It's like a little, I think it's a boat. You have a little boat on this board, and for the first turn of the game, you can put it in front of any area on this board, and that's where you'll be doing your actions that turn. And at the start of your turn, if you want to move that boat, you have to pay. So if you want to change up an action, sorry, that's not true. If you want to go left on the playboard, if you want to do an action of a province that's before where your boat is, you have to pay an extra $1. If you want to do an action in the same place that you did it last time, so if you want the boat to stay there, you have to pay an extra $1. And if you go to the right, you don't have to pay. So you can continually sort of move up, right, and keep going across and not pay that extra $1. But everything in the game costs money to do. If you want to build a factory, that costs $2, right? And you only start with like $8, by the way. So you're spending like this $1 at the start of your turn, then you build a factory, then you've spent another $2. So there's like $3 right there. So it's really tight. The economy is very tight. You also can build services which improve the industry that's in the town by giving these different bonuses. You can send trade people onto boats in the canal. You can put goods on the boats in the canal, and you can only do those actions. You can only do the goods action if you're next to the canal. That makes sense because you're loading up the boat with your goods. And then you can only send a tradesperson if you're in one of the cities that is connected by rail, because he wants to take a train to the canal. What else can you do? There's produce, and this is really cool. So you can produce in the region that you're in anyone's factories. And if you produce in someone else's factory, they get a benefit, right? That we've seen that in games before, right? So I might produce in Adrian's like wheat factory and I get a wheat, but he gets a point, or I might get 2 wheat and he gets 1 wheat or something like that. So there's like this sort of semi-co-op thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the actions in the game give you popularity because the townspeople are happy that you've done that. So like if you build a factory, then they're happy with you because you're increasing the industry and the economy of the town. So you go up this popularity track, and at the end of every round, sorry, not every round, every second round I think it is, you basically become the mayor if you're the furthest up the popularity track. And if you're the mayor, you get to basically select which is the which is going to score. Like you get to prioritize the scoring for that round, and you can make big points doing that. Also, the popularity track has little added things that you can collect. If you like go past certain places, you can get like $1 and like every dollar in the game is so important. So that's huge, right? And there's a lot of different ways to sort of get lots of points in this game, because you get multipliers for how many factories you have in a certain area if you've also built it up with services. So you can increase the multipliers there. You can get a lot of points by sending a lot of tradespeople overseas, because at the end of every round you get points for how many tradespeople you have there. You can get extra points from the city cards. The city cards give you like they're expensive, but then they give you sort of an added power that other players don't have. And you can also widen the canal, and the canals give you again popularity because you're trying to develop the canal and make it so that more ships can go and more trade can happen and things like that. So again, it's really Euro-y stuff that doesn't sound super exciting, but the fact that it's so tight, and there's benefits to building all in the same place and doing stuff all in the same place, because then you can produce in every factory that you're in, right? So if you stay in one place and you develop it, then you can do a lot there. And so there's an obvious benefit to doing that, but then it costs you money to stay in this, to do another action in the same place.
So if someone gets to be the mayor, and you said they can change some of the scoring mechanism, how do you avoid them from just completely tailoring the game to suit their play style and suddenly they're a runaway?
Oh, well, it's just, so how that works is the cards that you get for the special powers, they come in 3 flavors, basically. They come in 3 different colors.
Strawberry,
And
chocolate, and vanilla.
Banana.
No.
And then, so they just basically get to decide which one of those is worth 3 points, which one is worth 2, which one is worth
Oh, right, okay.
just for that scoring. Just as soon as they're mayor, they can be like, I'm prioritizing banana flavor, and then everyone with a yellow card gets 3 per, yellow
Banana.
card, and then the banana, 3 points per banana. So it's just like that. It doesn't change that much in the game. It's just points stuff, but it's still worth chasing that. You still don't want the person who's got like a lot of the same color card. Like if you had 3 bananas, Dan, then I wouldn't want you to be mayor and get 9 points. Right?
A bit of banana king.
Banana King.
Smoky Valley.
Mayor of Banana Town.
That's an upgrade from Lady Poopy Pants.
But it's really cool. And there's there's factories that are really expensive to build, and it's hard to do it, but then they get you like crazy stuff. Like you can build your own ships, so then you can send goods overseas onto your ships. Other people can't mess with your ships. And you get a tradesperson that sits on there straight away. They just go straight away. And these factories give you way more points as well. Yeah, it just sounds like Euro-y stuff, but it's really good. It's really fun. I like
Euro-y mishmash.
Euro-y mishmash, but it's so competitive, the mayor thing, which I really like, and just how tight it is with the money. So every action,
because every action's so important. If you take that mayor action, is it nerve-wracking to take it because you don't get to take a normal action? Does it have that feel to it?
No, you get to. So the popularity track, it's only if you do certain actions for the town, you get to move up the popularity track.
Okay.
And you can be mayor. And it's just a thing that happens at the end of the era. At the end of the era, you do like a electorate, race or whatever, and you find out who's in front, blah, blah, blah. And then you lose half of your popularity on the track as well. So then it sort of starts to become like a race every time, and you don't just have one person in the lead that's going to be mayor every time.
Fair.
It's usually very close.
Okay.
But if you just send goods overseas, then that's not helping anyone but yourself. So you don't get popularity if you do something like that.
Cool.
Right? So you have to... So that makes thematic sense. If you're just doing your own stuff, then...
Yeah, your own business.
Yeah.
You're not
but one of the
town.
cool things, it encourages the co-op part, because if you produce in 2 factories that aren't yours, you also get popularity for doing that. So producing normally doesn't get you anything, but if you're helping other people by using their factories, then you also get popularity for that as well. People love you for that. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. It's fun. There's a lot to think about. And it's tight as anything.
Spielworks game?
It's a Spielworks game.
Oh,
the other thing that's really hard to do as well is that when you send goods, you can only put 1 good on one boat and 1 good on another boat. You can't fill up a boat with 2. You have to split it up, which is really annoying because the boats have either 2 or 3 spaces, so you can't send a boat off straight away in one go. It is Spielworks. There's still copies available. It's not sold out yet.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The Smoky Valley.
Smoky Valley. Euro things.
Euro things beige on beige.
Beige on beige.
It sounds really good, though. It sounds something that I would really enjoy.
Yeah, you'd like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on that note, we're actually going to stay in Canada because I actually received my most anticipated Kickstarter, I think, of the year. Like I spoke about
this week.
This week, yeah.
No, your most anticipated is the On Mars expansion, surely.
No? Last year I spoke about this game on a pod a long time ago.
You did sound very excited.
Yes, as it came, and I think we had a discussion with Jules, and he said, "What's your most anticipated Kickstarter for next year?" And this is the one, purely because at the time I hadn't really even played any train games at the time. They're talking about the Transcontinental, and it's set in 1871 in Canada, and Canada's only 4 years old at this point, so it's the history in the game, and in the actual booklet that you get about the history is in depth, like too in depth for me to recite any of it. But it was amazing to go through some of it and look at the different plots of land owned by different people and different people that come from that area and what happened for the historical part of the early years of Canada and building this transcontinental railway. And the actual thematic ties to some of the characters in the game are on point. They really work for what happens in the game. And also the mechanics behind the game really work for what's happening. And it's essentially like a medium weight worker placement, pick up and deliver kind of game. But it has this really interesting twist in it, in the fact that you're a company a contractor developing the railway, right? And you actually send out telegrams ahead of the railway service to different industries and different places. Yumbalards. I got that thing again where I can't say anything.
Rough Lewins and the Yumbalards.
Yumbalards and Yoss Lewins. But they had lumber yards and coal mines and different industries along the track, and you send these telegraphs ahead of time so that when the train passes through, the train can do different actions in these areas. It could be develop more of the actual industry that's there, be it, it could be even stables and different farms and all different types of buildings in the actual game. But the train, you see, the way it works is everybody sits down. You start with, in a 2-player game, you have 4 telegrams, and you can send out 2 or 3 of those telegrams, then you can pass, and you do it in turn order. So I'd send one, Sarah sends one, then I would send one, Sarah sends one. You place them out on these tracks, and then once everyone's passed, the train then moves from the east as far as it can to the rail end at the west. And as it starts, the Canadian railway is only small, so it only goes a very short distance, maybe 6 or 7 spaces. But as you build this railway service, it gets longer and longer and longer, and you develop the railway more and more and more. It then becomes that it goes to like 30, 32 spaces.
Wow.
So at the start, it's very small and it moves left to right, and you kind of gain resources by doing like local businesses. And then you develop these different things and you send these telegrams out, and then you can gain better resources and better things from the actual places that are on the board. The way where it gets interesting is there's like a blind bidding system in it. So as the train gets to the rail headland at the very end of the rail line in the west, then you do this bidding round. So you only can bid the resources that are currently on the train as a trade thing. You can't bid anything that's in the yard, because there's actually trains sitting in the yard that are getting loaded up back in the east where you came from, and eventually once you have enough coal and stuff, you can add those to the train. So the actual train gets physically longer. At the start of the game, it only starts with 3 carriages. But I think by the end of our game, we had like 9 carriages, which contained like navvies. You could get tourists on there, steel, wood, timber, all sorts of different resources. At the start of the game, you don't start with. You only get timber, steel, and I think coal at the start. And then that then develops into grain and tourists and navvies and all these different things. And you need those people to develop these different locations that are on the track where you've sent your telegraphs out to. Yeah, I was really impressed with the blind bidding system and how that worked, because you really have to be careful, because you don't want to spend too many resources from the train to develop stuff and then not have enough to enter that blind bidding at the end. Because if you don't bid anything, you can't be in, you're out. So you have to be competitive in that market to extend the track, because that's how the track actually gets longer and longer, is by you getting to the end, doing the bidding system, and then the amount that you bid is then calculated, and whoever bid the most in the blind bid gets first pick of the track pieces that are uncovered. Let's say we bid 10 resources, and the next piece of tracks in front of us, the next 3 pieces are worth 3 each, and then the next one after that is worth 3. because we've bid 10, we could only get to those 3 pieces because the total value is 9. The next piece we don't get. So that becomes the end of the rail line for the next round. Once you've done all of this, you then actually head back to the east. So the train then starts to head back east, and it will stop wherever you place a telegraph ahead of you on the east side. So you can actually save actions and be like, right, I'm only going to spend 2 actions going west, and I'm going to save 2 actions going east. Because when the train goes east, Sarah's piece that she sent out is not going to be there anymore. So I'm going to take that spot because I want to do that action on the way back. Because you've already sent your telegraph out, and you've pulled them back as soon as you've finished your actions in the west. So it's really clever in the fact that you kind of have to pre-think, okay, well, I'm not going to get that going west, but when we go east, I will get that. And when I get the resources from that action, the next stop, if I stop here, I can then build this building and get that completed. And that development then means later in the game, I can gain more resources and do different actions. Development is really important, developing those buildings and dropping resources off to those locations. In a 2-player game, only one person can finish a development and place a building in that location. But in a 3 and a 4, anybody that contributes to that location, so let's say it was a farm and I dropped off 3 grain and the last 2 spots were just 2 timber. If Sarah dropped a timber off and Dan dropped a timber off in a 3-player game, you would all be allowed to build a development on that tile. Therefore, you could use those actions as soon as the development is finished. It's really clever, but the rule book was a headache to get through.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yes. It's because I don't think there's anything that works like this mechanically that I've ever played. So it really kind of sets it out in a funny order. But once you start to roll and start to play the game, it's really not very hard to play. Like, it's very simple. But the rule book really threw me. I ended up reading the same page like 3 times in a row going, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand it.
What are they telling me?
Yeah, but at the back of the book, there was like at the very back, didn't say that at the time, but I got through all these pages. Then the back, there was like a turn order or a round example of like how a round plays out. I wish I'd read that first and then read the rules.
So the rules don't read out in that order.
Yeah, in a
they should
strange
put the
way.
summary at the front. That's really
at the front there was like a resources bit. It just tells you how the resources get from the train to locations and then back from what you've gained and what you've got and gathered back onto the train, but not to the yard because the carriages in the yard you don't have access to unless you're using a different action and all the. I was like, what? I don't understand any of this. What's going on? But once I at the first I was like, I don't understand any of this. I don't understand the iconography. You know, this is a bit of a slog, and it was a bit slow. But it's just one of those things where I really felt like just starting to play it, it just worked. Like once I started and was like, oh, okay, well, this moves here and I get that resource and then this happens. And then we do the blind bidding and I stuffed it up and we did a few rules wrong and we just looked them up as we went. And it's like, oh, okay, so you can't do that. This is what happens. It got really smooth really quickly.
Oh, that's good.
I think with the train going back and forward probably 3 times, like, you know, west to east, west to east, west to east. After that, it was like I could already see what I was trying to plan out, and MJ was the same. She was like, okay, so if I get this here and then I can drop that off there, then I can send another telegraph out to here, and then this one gets me another telegraph because you get these bonus telegraph things that you can then send out and all this different stuff. And it really clicked together towards the end. But yeah, it was just a bit hard to get through the rule book. It could have been me, like it could have just been myself, but I found it quite difficult to start with. But like I said, once it started, I was blown away with it. I really enjoyed it. Like it's a fantastic game. And I think it's just very unique. Like, and that's what I liked most about it. It wasn't like your normal worker placement game where you are taking these spots, granted, that happens just like a worker placement. These telegraphs are just taking spots, but it's really how that train moves left to right and catching the right things to collect resources to drop them off further down the track and then gather up enough stuff to enter these blind bidding things to extend the track, and then getting different bonuses from all that stuff, and how that all connects together and links together is quite a unique thing.
So it's quite a bit of planning then to get everything lined up.
100%. 100%. Like there was even like I said, after those first sort of 3 rounds, I was starting to pre-plan stuff. But then as the game progressed, it was like already to like a next level of like the planning process of like what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. And there was things where there's an action where you can actually do like this portage action where you can send resources upriver to these different locations. So what I was able to do was send a single resource to a space, and then as the train went through, drop another resource off and steal from underneath MJ like the things that she was trying to develop and get the most resources on. Because as soon as I'd locked in more resources to that development than what she could do, I would take that development and that become mine. And that was really fun to do. Yeah, it was really
sounds like MJ to me.
But I did it, and then she did it right back to me in the next round. And I was like, I should have seen that coming. Like I should have seen that coming. But you gain, even if you contribute to these developments, you gain points. But the randomization and stuff is also pretty cool. So like you start off in the lowlands, and it moves off. I think it's called the Shield, and then the Rockies, and it kind of you kind of going up through this kind of mountainous terrain. All of the locations left and right of the track are randomized and shuffled, and when they're laid out, where the train actually stops, half of a tile sits over one space and the other half on the bottom side of the track sits over the other space. So you kind of 1-2 combo to the things that are north and south of the actual track. And that changes each time you play the game because these locations are all shuffled and dealt out in a different way. So I think there has a lot of replayability, especially with the blind bidding and stuff as well. That can be really quite cutthroat at the end as well. Like all I was focused on was getting that last location because it was worth 15 victory points, and the next one after that was only worth 5. So I spent a lot of my time and energy gathering stuff to just get those resources to make sure I could outbid MJ at the end no matter what. And yeah, it was really, really, really cool. There's also another thing that's quite interesting about the game is that you basically have coal that you place on the train. Coal's another resource that you gather from a couple of different locations, and you use those to build the mines and stuff as well, because that's what that industry wants. But if you have 3 coal on the actual train, on the tender of the train where they store the coal while it's traveling, when it arrives back in the east, that then allows you to add more carriages from the yard that have sat in the yard in the east back onto the train to then take them west. And the person with the most coal in that tender gets choice of what gets added to the train. So you might have a carriage in the yard with 3 grain on it, and your opponent has just 1 grain on it. Well, you're going to take that carriage because you actually get a victory point for each resource on the train or on the carriage. Plus you get 2 points for actually just doing the action of filling the coal. But you still get a benefit even though you're letting them have another resource, if you know what I mean. They're going to gain a grain, but you're gaining 3 grain and more victory points. If you actually get another coal carriage on the train, you can have up to 7 coal. Then it gets really intense because then you could potentially have someone with 3 coal and then someone else with 3 coal. So you actually do that twice when it gets back into the east. So that action will happen until there's not enough coal to fill that part of the train. There was a lot of little things like that happened in the rule book that I was like, was quite a hard thing to sort of get my head around how that all worked and when it happened. But once we started and once the game started rolling, thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I'm really glad I backed it. It's one of those games that I was excited for, And you know what it's like when you get it and you're like, oh, it's really exciting, and you might play and go, oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
And your hype out-hypes you.
Hmm.
When I played this,
And you didn't get
Yeah.
out-hyped this
I
time.
didn't out-hype myself. No, it was
Good.
great. Like, I was really worried because when I was reading the rule book, I was like, oh no, this is going to be not as fun as I expected. But once we started to play the game, it really did make sense and was really, really enjoyable. So I just now want to teach it to a group to play it 4-player to see how
yeah, that'd
all
be
of that
amazing, I
bidding
bet.
happens and how the train carriages get added and all that kind of stuff. So
I like the idea of a train game that's not about plotting routes. Like there is just one route, and it's about sort of the resources and sort of maximizing the worker placement on that single route. It's clever.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
It's also got a thing as well, like a priority resource as well. So like a resource that might be in more demand, and there's a little token that moves along the track as you develop. So the priority might be navies, for example, navigational engineers. They might be a priority. So when it becomes to bidding, because there is a shortage of them, they're actually worth more when you bid, right? So you might have 3 navies and someone might have 4 timber. Well, their bid of 4 timber, you only need 3 navies to outbid them because your navies are worth double what theirs are worth. So that's another thing to watch, like how that track moves and what resources you have and what resources become worth more in the following rounds. So that's another thing you have to pre-plan for. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Really cool, really different. 100% glad I got it. So
Mine's on my table, and now I'm really excited to play it, Adrian.
yeah, you will really like it. You
Yeah.
really, really will. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's quite a hard game to try and explain what happens as it happens, but it's very pretty as well. Like the guy, I think it's Glenn
Dresser.
Yeah, he did beautiful art. Like did it all himself. Like I love the aesthetics of the game. I love how the track builds out and you remove these parts of land and the track gets longer and longer. And like Dan says, there's only one track. It just goes from east to west constantly. And it's kind of thematic. Like I would say that they would drive these trains up into the mountains, dropping off resources, dropping off different pieces of equipment, engineers, all this stuff, and then ferry people back and then collect again. And the train would get bigger and the industry would get bigger. And yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. So stoked.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
heard someone just drop their purchase pen.
Someone dropped
Yeah,
it.
that was my purchase pen.
It's an unmistakable sound.
Well, yeah, that's the Transcontinental. I don't know if it's coming to retail or not, but yeah, I'd advise anyone that wants to try it. Just try and find someone who backed it on Kickstarter because it's
Maybe it'll be the game day.
yeah, 100%. I'd hope so. I reckon. So cool. And with that, we shall move on to the bracket. And the bracket is also sponsored by Game Toppers. Check them out at GameToppersLLC.com, where they have play mats and all sorts online.
Hey guys, Dan here. I just thought I'd quickly sneak out of the nursing home to tell you all about one of our sponsors, 2D6 Games. Now, earlier this month, you may have heard the sad news that 2D6 are closing their doors. After almost 3 years in the business, they've promised that this isn't the end of 2D6, but they will be ceasing operation at the end of June. Now, you've probably heard the term FLGS bandied around a lot in this community, friendly local gaming store. Well, that's exactly what 2D6 has epitomised. They've been a family-focused, a community-focused store, and they're really going to be missed, not just on the Brisbane gaming scene, but the Australian gaming scene, with their involvement in local events, as well as their support of knuckleheads like us at the podcast. On behalf of everyone here at the Board Game BBQ, I'd like to wish Dan, Dave and Joe all the best in their future endeavours, and we certainly look forward to catching up with them across the gaming table very, very soon. But it's not all bad news, because they are going out with a bang. All of their games have been reduced to clear, and there's a flat rate of only $10 shipping on all orders, no matter how much stuff you grab. So get amongst it. Head to 2d6games.com.au and grab a bargain while stocks last. That address again is 2d6games.com.au. And thanks again to the team for sponsoring the podcast.
The bracket battle, the one that we're resolving is Pandemic Legacy versus Too Many Bones. Now, I am shocked to look at how tight this was, if I'm honest. Like, I am surprised as. It's a difference of 4 votes
Oh, wow.
between it.
Crazy.
Like that's not much. So I think there might be a bit of nostalgia for the Pandemic Legacy, like me, when I played it and I loved it, and it really got me into legacy games. And I think Drake really hit the nail on the head when he spoke about that kind of emotional impact on something like that. It kind of stays with you forever, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Playing that game and you know, that association with that time of playing that game is huge for me, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we had like 2-part podcast, right? For Patreons
Spoiler.
on it. So we
Yeah.
had a lot to say about it, even though it
Yeah.
was ages after that we'd played it.
Yeah.
So
And we both had very different games.
yeah.
Like, hugely different. That was kind of fun exploring that. Like the games we played were completely different. So, but yeah, I'll put everybody out of their misery and just let you know that Too Many Bones actually did take the win, despite only being by
I
4
thought that it
votes.
would.
So
Too many
I thought
votes.
that it would.
too
I
many
wasn't
votes.
sure,
That's right.
but I'm happy with that.
When I started talking about it, Mike, were you like, "Oh no"?
I actually hadn't checked yet. I actually hadn't looked at the results. I'm like, I'm as eager to find out as anyone else right now. But I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy for a TMB win.
Yeah, it's a great game and it's loved by many, you know, and it's still got more and more content coming out for it.
Yeah.
So. But the one we're actually going to start up tonight is actually Targi versus Anachrony. Now,
How many comments about this matchup are we going to get?
loads.
Big box versus
so
little box.
many.
Biggest box going, pretty much. Versus
You
the-
could just
on the
get the
smallest
Anachrony
boxes.
box and just
Drop it on the
drop it on
Targi one.
Target.
Targi just clips to a piece of paper.
Pancake.
Look, I can only.
Do we know? Do you remember? Does anyone remember what Targi has beaten to get here?
Ooh,
There was
we can check that.
Sarah can.
I'm sure there was a
I couldn't
There was
get
an
into
upset.
challenge.
I'm pretty sure there was an upset along the way.
I can look.
Also, I just
Yeah.
isn't that a dance move? Big box, little box.
Cardboard
Big
box.
box.
Yeah, big fish, little fish,
Oh, yeah,
cardboard
yeah.
box.
Big box, little box, cardboard
Big
box.
fish,
Big
little
box,
fish,
little
cardboard
box.
box.
There you go.
Right.
And for those playing at home, Mike and I were both doing the dance.
Yeah, you missed out.
It's part of the Melbourne Shuffle, isn't it? Big box, little box.
Come see it live at Comic Con this weekend.
So Targi
just
actually
for
beat
dancing.
TI4.
I knew there was something big.
beat Yokohama. Yokohama? Is it Yokohama? Is that what it said?
Yokohama. Yeah.
Yokohama. Yeah. It beat that as well. So to get here, it's got to be Anachrony. And then if it does win this, which will blow my mind if it does, it has to then be Architects of the West Kingdom, which is like
Oh,
big dog.
Yeah.
So. But like I can only talk about Anachrony, only a small amount. I played it at Def's house after we played like a 6.5 hour game of 18xx. And you know what? Like it's a funny one because I did enjoy it. I thought it was good, but I can see, even with only the one play, what Jules kind of describes as it needs that expansion that he talks about all the time in it to make it more of a super thinky game. I enjoyed the game, but even for me on my first play, I was like, it was okay, but I wasn't like enamored with it. And for a game that had time travel in it and stuff, I was super excited to try because I love time travel. I love all that kind of sci-fi stuff. I didn't feel the time travel stuff as much as I thought I would. But I've only played it once. So I'm not really the best person to talk about this. And I can't remember the name of that expansion that Jules always talks about for the life of me. It's something of time. Something of
Fractures
time.
of Time?
Fractures of time.
That's
That's
right.
it.
Well played. Thanks, Mike.
I've never even played it.
I was going to say
about it and
minutes.
ramble about it enough.
just bangs on and on and on.
Fractures of Time. It's that Fractures of Time tattoo he's got on his inner thigh. So
It's tastefully done,
it's-
though.
it's tastefully done, that's right. But yeah, it's I've never played Targi either. I'm not a massive person for these head-to-head games, but I know that Sarah and Dan and you, Mike, are to a degree, right? You
Targi
these
is
types of
so
games.
good. Yeah, I really find it so good for 2-player because every worker placement spot is it's really tough, right? Because you've got to choose between what you really want and stopping the other person from getting what they really need.
because you do not want them to, because it's so tight. You know, the scores are usually what, Dan? Like between 30 and 40.
Yeah, it's
somewhere
usually pretty
there. It's
close.
not, and you usually like, you know, only one or two, you know, in front or behind someone. So it's very tight. So you don't want to just let people, like if Dan's sitting there with, you know, 3 salt and 2 pepper, and there's like the tribe cards on the board he could easily fulfill, then of course I'm going to try and block him from getting it for another round. And
but you have to do that at the sacrifice of your own
that's right.
turn, essentially.
Yes,
You're picking the lesser of two. You're forced
so-
to pick the lesser of two evils. Do I deliberately try and block my opponent, or do I go for what I need? And then
that's why I think it always has to come down to what they really like, just those crucial things. If they can get something really easily, you don't want that. You don't want them to get a gold really easily, and you don't want them to get a good tribe card really easily. If you can,
that's such a clever little mechanic with the X and Y axes.
Yes.
As well, because it's
how many times have you done like where you've put a worker in the same row, like on either side, and then you've gone, like at the end.
I'm going to get the same thing. It's just, that was.
You only get one.
Why did I do that?
One
That was
thing
stupid.
instead of two.
Yeah.
But it's easy to do because you're thinking so much about every turn. It's easy to make a mistake like that.
Or you're eyeing off the one thing you want. Don't do it. Don't place a worker on. Put a worker on that row. You've completely blocked. You knew what I wanted. I was going for, and you've just blocked me.
I've played that, and it's been so competitive that multiple times we haven't had any cross, any things across, because people just went, they went all along the rows or all along the columns.
Oh, really?
We like blocked each other so much that no one got anything from
like a null round. No one.
It's like a null round. Really tight. And it got to the end of the game, and we had, you know, far less of a tableau than in other games that I played, and the score was a lot less. So it can be very cutthroat.
I like this game. And I think Mike and I were on an episode back in the day where we talked about specific 2-player sort of head-to-head games, and I like 2-player games that are designed to be just 2 players, like Targi, for instance. So there is those juicy decision-making sort of moments where it's like, do I just go for what I need, or do I deliberately try and block what Mike's doing?
Yeah, well, it's not up to us, right? It's up to the listeners and the community. So, just vote with your emojis, and hopefully, you know.
Come on, Targi.
Come on, Targi. Crush everyone. Can you imagine if it won the whole thing?
Isn't it like Targi, the little box that could? Or something like that before. Like,
Jules have to get his tag removed.
Yeah, I know, right? Just swap it for a Targi one.
Targi tat.
Yeah, fractures of Targi. So cool. Well, with that, we shall move on to the oaths. Ooh. I just wanted to actually say a bit of a thing for everybody here as well. Massive thanks to the community that follow us on the Discord channel, on the Facebook, like getting involved. We've got people like joining every day, and absolutely grateful for every single one of those people that comes in and chats about games and movies and all sorts of different things that we have in our Discord. So if you want to get involved, just look up our Board Game Barbecue Discord server and Board Game Barbecue Facebook community. We're on Patreon. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. But it's awesome. And massive thanks to everyone. Also, if you like, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or give us a 5-star rating or a star rating of some description on one of the different podcasting apps like Spotify. Dan will actually read out your...
There haven't been any for a while, folks.
Yeah, I know.
So...
My crazy friend from work who left the last one.
Yeah, it's pretty much nothing. We haven't had anything for a while, so I'm throwing down a challenge. I want to, if you want to do a limerick, if you want to do... I want puns, I want dad jokes. Yeah. Leave them in, even if it's not even if it's not a 5-star review, if there's a rap or a limerick or a pun or a dad joke, I'll still read it out.
DJ Lady Poopy Pants will do it. Yes. MC Poopy Pants.
That's it.
All the links
I'm taking her to Coachella.
All the links will be in the show notes. But that's awesome. So, oaths. how are we looking, people? I'll go with you, Dan, first, because you've got a double oath by the looks of it here.
I'm a bit 50-50. I haven't got Unsettled to the table yet.
Hmm.
It's funny because just the other night I went to bed and I was watching a playthrough. I can't remember who it was, a solo playthrough of Unsettled. I haven't got it to the table yet. I'm very keen to. But my other oath was to play Paint the Roses, which Jen and I did play and loved it. Like, you know me, I love my deduction games. And it took a little while for us to get the hang of the deduction. So, like in a nutshell, you play these the little people that go around painting the roses in Wonderland, and the Queen of Hearts is basically chasing you. And the way you move around the track and keep one step ahead of her is to place tiles which are flowers, and the flowers are either a particular color or a particular suit. And we're trying to guess, just by the way we placed it, what each other's whim is, which is a hidden card, which has a combination on it. It might be a red flower next to a pink flower. It might be a purple next to a yellow, or it might be a heart next to a spade, or it might be a spade next to a club, or the harder ones could be a color next to a suit. And so we're trying to place a tile and then let them know how many of that combination are present in the garden on the tile that we placed. And so it took us a while to get the hang of it. And as a result of the first game, we lost our heads. The Queen caught us right at the death knell. But it was one of the few games that we'd played after the boys went to bed that, despite the fact that it was late, Jen went, "Can we play that again?"
That's
I think
good.
she was the same with me, where she was like, "I think we can do better this time. I think we can actually do it." And we did. We sort of went hard on the more difficult ones early, and then just sort of bide our time, because the further you get around the track, the game ends when you fill the entire garden, and so you are sort of limited towards the end of what you can place and where and what clues you can give. But there are certain markers along the track where when you pass the white rabbit, then the Queen will actually take 2 steps instead of 1. Then she'll take 3 steps, so she ends up gaining speed after each turn and ends up catching you. And God forbid you actually guess incorrectly, because then she'll move double. So yeah, really great little sort of deduction game. I'd love to play it with more players than just 2. And I got the deluxe version, so like the components are just really sweet. There's also
components.
But there's also different cards in there which can change up the way the game can be played, with additional incentives or additional sort of ways in which to score, or things you have to achieve while you're playing. And they're all named. There's the Cheshire Cat deck, and there's the Mad Hatter deck, and there's all the different things. And there's an Alice one which comes with other components, with the Eat Me, Drink Me little tokens. So yeah, looking forward to sort of getting a bit more hands-on with those expansions as well. But yeah, highly recommend Paint the Roses for a really cool little unique deduction game.
So what's next?
I honestly don't know. It hadn't even occurred to me to have a look around. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, because I do want to get Unsettled to the table. I know what is it? Just a small little game. I picked this up a long time ago and hadn't played. Silver and Gold.
Oh, nice.
I've never played it. Yeah. And I saw, speaking of earlier in the show, I saw Maggie and Amy discuss it on their YouTube channel early this week, and I went, I've got that and I haven't played it yet. So yeah, I, Dan Harris, will get Silver and Gold to the table and play it with Jen and Jack.
Nice. And yourself, Mike?
My oath was to play Monsters on Board, a game where you're a bunch of monsters about to have a big party, but you know what? We're all out of spook juice, which is the spirit that we all need to make all our cocktails and drinks. So we're going to go and terrorize the town and try to earn as much spook juice as we can to try to be able to make all our drinks and entertain everyone at a party. And it was a really good game. It the component quality is pretty awesome. There's lots of little minis. The board looks quite busy, and it actually probably looks a lot more complicated than what the game is. But basically, you'll have little fear mobiles, which are little cars that you're going to be sending around the board. But the cars are just used to draft dice. So you're going to draft some dice. You're going to use the colors of the dice to move certain monsters down these big tracks to give you bonuses. Then you're going to bring these drafted dice down to another section where you're trying to make your own little puzzle. There's 3 rows of dice that you're trying to sort of make your own little individual puzzle. You all have a card at the start of the game with like asymmetric goals you're trying to achieve. And so you're making this really cool little puzzle, and To do this puzzle properly, you have to get this end dice up to a 6. It's how to explain it. There's a dice at the start that you can only score as many dice as the number on this die. So if the die only says 3 and you have 6 die in the row, you can only score the first 3 die. So it's a bit of a race to get all of it going. I won't go into it too deeply because it may be a sizzle at some point, but Monsters on Board was great. I've actually played it 3 times so far. My one tip to everyone, feel free to watch the videos on YouTube that were made, but keep in mind they were made pre-production. It actually confused me quite a bit because they changed the game quite a few different ways since they made the videos and gave out pre-production copies and made the game. So the first time I played the game, I actually played it a lot harder than it's intended to be. I had an extra rule in there that's not supposed to be in there anymore because I watched it on the videos. I actually still really enjoyed it that way. I might play that as an alternate once in a while anyway. But just a heads up, if you watch the videos before you play, it may confuse you quite a bit because quite a few things have changed. But yeah, Monsters on Board was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Thumbs up.
Nice.
My next game, I decided I played Raiders last night, well, the other night, for like the first time in person and really enjoyed it. I'm like, you know what I haven't played yet? I still haven't played Viscounts. I've got Viscounts sitting there. I've played the other 2 West Kingdom games and love both of them. I'm like, Viscounts needs to hit the table. So I, Michael Ferrugia, swear to play Viscounts of the West Kingdom by the time I'm on the podcast next.
Nice.
Right.
That's awesome. Sarah, man, how's it going? What's yours like?
Good. I'm like actually finishing them. It's so good.
Oh,
I feel like, a weight has been lifted. So I did the Smoky Valley and I sizzled it. There you go, done. And the other one was Space Hulk Death Angel card game.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a game like I used to absolutely love it, and I haven't played it in so long, and I really wanted to try and play it again just to see like if I still felt the same way about it, or if it was sort of a bit old fashioned now. And so it has this thing that I don't typically like in games where it has an event card every round that sort of tells you something else is going on. But so that was the one part I was like, this is kind of old fashioned, like an event card, like, what's it going to be? And we all have to go along with it kind of thing. But everything else in the game is really quite solid still. So you're basically trying to go through the Space Hulk, which is, of course, full of gene stealers, and you have different teams of Space Marines. When you play it solo, you have to use 3 different teams yourself. You're controlling 3 different teams yourself. And they all have like, each team has 3 command cards. There's like support, attack, and move and activate. So when you're in like the first room, so I think you go through like 4 rooms in the solo mode. So in the first room, there are like a couple of like things you can interact with in the room that can help you kill the gene stealers and stuff like that. So that's what move and activate's for. So you can move and activate those certain things. Then support is to put like tokens on. You can put on basically anyone in your formation, because support tokens allow you to like do rerolls for attacks and defends and things like that. And then of course there's attack. But not only that is each of them have like a little bit of text that tell you how that team does it. They all have like a certain way that they support. Like the base action is give someone a support token, but then there's like text and it tells you, right, this team supports with this extra ability. They get to choose one pile of gene stealers and they can't attack, but they can't be attacked either, right? That's an example of one. So it's really cool because it's up to like 6 players. You can play cooperatively. And so there's 6 different Space Marine teams and they're all really different. And there's also a special ability on each of the Space Marines themselves as well. So there's quite a lot going on still. I really liked it. I won, but I realized I slightly cheated because when you traverse from like when you go to like the next room, which you can do when one of the blip piles, one of them's empty and doesn't have gene stealers in it, you can travel to the next room. There was like, I think the event said I had to add 2 gene stealers or something to the pile, or I didn't do something and I forgot, and so I kind of cheated at one.
It's not cheating; it's called house ruling.
Exactly. There's another word for these.
We just house ruled it.
Yeah. It's like
Cool.
it would be fine if I hadn't realized my mistake, you know. But when you realize your mistake, it's like, no, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. So yeah, I really like it. I wish it was still available though. I feel kind of, bad like saying something's good and it's not available. It was rubbish.
Be on the
Something
second-hand
else.
market somewhere at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does crop up. It does crop up on the second-hand market.
There might be
So
someone
I'd say-
sitting on it right now going, "Oh, well, Sarah's talked it up. I'll sell my copy and
Or I'll play it
Yeah.
even.
See if I
I might not play
I'll
it for
play
10
it.
or
years.
dig it out, or get rid of it,
Yeah.
and someone else can take advantage."
I
Cool.
think it's probably more fun with other people as opposed to solo. Solo was fun though. I didn't mind it actually, but with other people, you don't know exactly what they're going to play. There's like the whole fog of war thing, so it can be kind of interesting. You think they're going to do something and they don't, and you can't. The other thing is with it that's tricky is you can't use the same card you used last turn. So if you attacked with one of your teams, you can't attack again next turn. You've got to do something else. So that can be really tricky. Gene Stealers can just start cropping up everywhere. And it's like, I wish I could attack now. So that was that. And my next one, I think, is to play the Transcontinental because it's sitting on my table. And now that Adrian's talked about it, I really want to play it. So
I think
hi,
you'll
Sarah
enjoy it.
Green. Swear to play the Transcontinental by the next time I'm on the podcast.
Nice.
Very nice.
It's I think you'll really like it. You'll enjoy it. So
Yeah,
hope try and play it
absolutely.
with 4 if you can. I think it's better. So
Okay.
still good with 2 though. Like it was incredibly tight. I'll give you that. It was really, really tight. So for myself, it was to play my copy actually of Carnegie, which has been spoken about ad nauseum on this podcast for quite a while because we spoke about it like when it was starting the Kickstarter because me and Sarah played it a couple of times on BGA and it's great game. Really enjoyed it. Really fun to play my own copy. Perfect. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's great. I'm glad I got it. Fantastic components, fantastic everything. So, and my next one, to be honest, like I got some jobs to do. Hey, like I need to fix this thing, this Phoenix thing. Let's add that
The
to the
Purple
list.
Phoenix.
Let's just get that done. So I, Adrian Smith, swear to strip the paint off the Phoenix model and produce photos on Facebook.
Can you give us a
IG.
before and after?
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, nice.
There'll probably be before and then a hammer smashing it after
Yes.
because I'll be frustrated about it. But apparently it's quite easy to do that stuff. It does, from the videos I've watched, it comes off really easy. But you know what? You watch those videos, they make it easy. Then all of a sudden I'm covered in this alcohol stuff and then it's everywhere and there's paint dripping down my desk and it's not as simple. But yeah.
I was
We
about
shall
to say the painting videos look easy too.
Yes.
We know that ain't easy.
That's not easy.
Exactly. So, yeah, but I will definitely get that done. And I'd like to play the Transcontinental more. So let's just add that on there as well. I'll play that a bit.
Chuck it in.
Maybe me and Sarah might be able to play it online at some point.
Oh, yeah,
It'll be
that'd be
quite
good.
fun. So cool. Well, that's all the O's. We're almost all successful, right? It was very close.
Very close.
Very, very close. I think half is
Don't look at me when you say
still
that.
fine. Yeah, sorry. I didn't need to look
Go
right
away.
in your face. It's almost there. So. But yeah, thanks massively to all the sponsors, all our Patreons. If it wasn't for our Patreons and sponsors, we definitely wouldn't be able to do this as much as we do. It's really, really grateful for all that. So, and on that note, I think we'll all say goodnight and goodbye.
And get tickets to the next game day in your
Oh,
area.
Yeah, that's it.
Sydney Game Day's coming up.
Yeah.
Come on, pretty
That's
soon.
the
Is it-
link.
When is it, Sarah?
18th of June.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's very
Nice.
soon. So,
The
cool.
link to our Eventbrite page is in the show notes.
Oh, nice. There you go. You can follow along on Eventbrite. That's the best way to find tickets
Yeah,
to all the
just
different
subscribe
local
or
areas.
follow
So
and you'll get alerted when our next game day goes on sale.
that's it. And with that, I hope everyone's next game is a sizzling one.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wait, Arthur, what did I do wrong? Because I said
Game
game
topper.
toppers. Yeah.
Dame
I
Goppers.
hate them. Yeah. Follow
The
along
Yum-
with Tame
the Yumba Lab.
Goppers LLC. That's a different website.
Dame Goppers.
The best expansion winner is Lost Ruins of Arnak Expedition Leaders.
Well done, Ross Lewins.